in school, I noticed I was very different to a lot of people regarding things like just interests or the way I did things or went about my day or
Yeah, this is episode one of the new podcast, and what I really want to do is, yeah, just talk about people's experiences who live with neurodiversity, and just their, I don't know, the things that are good, the things that are bad, just general life, what they do, how it's affected them. Just their stories. I thought, yeah, let's get people's stories out there, man. Let's make this a real, let's push this out and be a real topic, of discussion. It's a discussion anyway, but let's help it become more. So, yes. So, yeah, to everyone's watching this, thank you for watching it. Yeah, this is my first episode, and I'm here with Shereene, who's actually my sister. So this is quite interesting, and she's part of the reason. She's one half of the reason why this actually exists, what I do. And yeah, you'll find out why when she talks about herself. So yeah, so I guess the first thing we'd do is just have just talk about yourself, or just explain, who you are, what you do, what you like to do, that sort of thing,
hi,
like an introduction.
my name's Shereene. Obviously, I'm the sister of Marlon, and I'm 18 years old, and I was previously a student at Oxford College doing art and design, and what I'm interested in is a lot of different things. I like, as you can see with my jumper and also my necklace, Halloween stuff. I'm really, really into Halloween. It's like my biggest hyperfixation, which is a thing that a lot of autistic people have, and also a special interest as well. So there's two things, hyperfixation and special interest, and that's like my biggest thing, Halloween. And it ties into everything I like, everything I do. I can just pick up something on my table, I can guarantee it's Halloween related. So everything I own is Halloween themed, and I'm quite creative, and I like art and drawing, and that's like my other like biggest thing, and it ties into just like my like creative style, I guess. And I also really like music and collecting CDs and vinyl, and I enjoy concerts as well. So that's a bit about me.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Was it hyperfixation? I haven't heard that word. I need to read more.
That's
Hyperfixation,
like a
that's a good
really,
word. I
really,
have to
really,
remember that
really
and use
intense
it.
interest in something. Yeah.
Yeah, nice one. Okay, all right then, cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're definitely into Halloween stuff, and yeah, I think it's quite cool. That's your own sort of individual style. I love that. So yeah, so I've got some questions here. Sorry, I had to like print
That's
them out
fine.
because I won't remember this because my memory is like a sieve. Okay, so the first one is, when did you first realize you
Well,
might
I
be
first
autistic?
realised I might be autistic when my twin sister, who obviously is the same age as me, at age 14, she wrote a letter to my mum talking about just how she thinks she might be autistic. And then they went through the process from like age 14 to 15 of getting her diagnosed privately. And she did a lot of testing, a lot of different things. And then she was diagnosed with autism and also ADHD. But it was mainly the ADHD that kind of stuck out to me. So I did a bit of research and digging, and I found out more about neurodivergency through that, and I looked at ADHD and then how that ties in with autism. So then I started looking more into autism and realising, hang on, there's things here that I can like heavily relate to. Am I autistic? So yeah, that's when I started like having thoughts about whether I was autistic or not.
Okay, and what was the process of getting your sort of diagnosis? Was it a long
So it was
process,
quite
or
a
was
long
it a difficult
process
one?
because originally the main thing it was going to be for was ADHD. But I was with CAMS at the time, which I guess CAMS has quite a bad reputation, and they were quite slow with the whole diagnostic process, but they did actually help me. But the thing was, it started in late 2022. I was referred to a psychiatrist, and she wasn't very helpful at all. She was looking at like the wrong issues that were going on, along with the whole wanting to see if I was autistic and ADHD. And so they put me onto this different team called this, I think it was like psycho development or something like that team. And then I was with one woman for a few months, and then she referred me to a proper child psychiatrist who was like, I don't know what the word is, but like, she specialised with autism and ADHD and stuff like that. So then she actually wanted to know like exactly how I was feeling and everything. Like, she wanted me to tell her everything. So I told her everything, and she took me like completely seriously compared to the other two. Like, she really wanted to get me diagnosed. So she brought in there's a test that you have to do called an ADOS test, and she brought in another psychiatrist specialist person who carries out those tests and assessments, and then that's what we went through, and that took around altogether like 4 to 5 months of different testing. Like, I think it was 4 different tests to do with autism and ADHD. And then by the end of that was 2024 summer, so it was around almost 2 years of this whole thing going on, and then I was finally diagnosed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you was diagnosed, what was it a relief, or was it a sadness when you found out officially?
A little bit of both. I wasn't upset that I had this now label of being autistic or having ADHD or whatever. It was quite liberating, actually, because I'd always felt growing up there was a lot that separated me from other people in my classes, like during school, or I just realised I was very different to other people. So I guess having those labels, or the diagnosis, made it a lot clearer to me and answered questions that I had about myself. And I guess there was a bit of sadness, because at the same time I thought, if someone found this out earlier, or I was diagnosed as like a young child, my life would be a lot different, and maybe a bit easier as well. But I was happy to just finally have the answers to things I was questioning for a very long time.
Yeah, that's the when I speak to people, that they usually say if they'd have known earlier, then maybe they would have understood the reasons why they do certain things, and not definitely sort of beat themselves up for it, when you just think, oh, what's wrong with me? But just the way you process information, or so to speak, that could be an answer for that, which is you may have autism and things like this. So that's really cool. So so what aspects of your teenage years make sense to you now? Like, does anything make sense now that you've got your diagnosis? Are you like, that's why? Yeah. Do you get that when it's some of those moments?
Well, during my teenage years, in school, I noticed I was very different to a lot of people regarding things like just interests, or the way I did things, or went about my day, or anything basically. Like, for example, we had days in school where we had like own clothes days, and growing up I developed a fashion style that is completely like just different to what the average person, especially like growing up teenagers, when they have their own kind of like groups that they try and fit in and they wear certain things and all that. That didn't interest me at all. I had no interest for it, so I just wore my own things. And then on those days, I would go into school wearing like my Halloween themed things, like my dresses with like bats on them and stuff like that. And obviously it would stand out quite a bit compared to what everyone else decided to wear, and then I would just get completely bullied for it. Like, people just wouldn't leave me alone and they would say things. I was called some really nasty things, actually. I won't say them, obviously, but it's some word relating to disabled people. And I remember being really upset and just staying in the toilets for half the day and crying because I didn't understand like why people were so bothered about what I was wearing, because I didn't get why it was affecting them. And I was just wondering, why am I so different? Why are people just not accepting of me? And I guess that's one thing that really I do think about, because it didn't just happen once, it happened so many times when we had these own clothes days, and that's just one thing that definitely still sticks with me today.
Sorry, did you like dread
No,
own clothes days then?
I liked them,
like,
because
oh.
It was a bit weird, actually, because after the days would happen, I would obviously, during the day and at home, I would be upset about the whole thing. But I would always try and build a bit more resilience and be like, okay, this time, what is the point of me trying to fit in? Because I always knew that I could never fit in or try and be like how everyone else is being, because it would feel worse than actually being called all this stuff. So I was just, no, I didn't.
Did you try?
Because it wouldn't make me feel good anyway. So I just thought, like, well, this time, if anyone says anything, I'm just going to ignore it. And then I would come in again, and then someone would say something, and then I would be upset, and it would be the same thing again. But over the years, especially like now, I've built a lot more resilience to it, and it doesn't affect me at all. Yeah.
That's really good. Very strong of you. When I was going to school, I remember I tried to fit in with the cool kids playing like basketball. That was a thing to do, with your t-shirt off and look cool and all this stuff. And I tried to do that just to fit in, and I hated every moment of it. It felt like work. I was like, I don't really want to do this. So it's good that you didn't even bother do that fit in. You just accepted you. And I remember. I remember some of these stories. Not too much. I didn't know it was happening that much. I think your mum briefly spoke about, I think you were crying one time because of something, some teas and stuff. But I didn't know it was going on that regular, actually. And I remember when we went. Do you remember when it was your prom, and everyone? I remember your mum was like, "Oh no, like maybe I should have gave him something else to wear," because everyone was like, they looked a certain way, like a typical teenager, and you and your sister stood out. I remember me and Ida, a partner, she was just like, yeah, that's cool that you guys stand out. I respect that.
Like that. And I saw everyone wearing their kind of like prom dresses, and like it just wasn't something I would have wanted to wear. Like, I was very happy in my £30 gothic dress that I got secondhand. Like, I still wear it.
Yeah.
And I just don't really see a need to, dress how everyone else is dressing, like, just to fit in and, like, put my happiness on, like, a back burner. Like, I don't understand it, and I'm just happy with what I like.
Yeah. It's that's one of the things I admire about you. You're very confident in your own skin.
Yeah.
Very accepting of who you are, which is that's very, it's very rare, very hard to do in this society. But so that's good. Okay. Are there any common misconceptions about autistic girls you'd like to address?
There's quite a few. I just need it to come to mind.
Take your time.
I think one misconception that is quite heavy is that an autistic girl may not be struggling or may not even, seem like she has autism because she can mask really well or can, carry herself well. This is why actually a lot of women get diagnosed with autism a lot later on in life, because during their childhood, they're kind of conditioned. Sociologically, it's called canalization, actually. When at a young age, girls are introduced to things like cooking and looking after children and quiet activities like, I don't know, drawing or reading in their room and stuff. And then boys are introduced to things like, playing outside and all that. But because a lot of girls' special interests tend to be things like reading and just things in their room, it goes under the radar. Like, people might just, assume, oh, that girl is just really, really into her books or really, really into her makeup and stuff, when those are, like, it may seem stereotypical, but they're, like, some of the biggest and most common special interests that autistic girls have. So they have this deep passion for these kind of things, but it goes under the radar because it's expected of them. But people just see it as, oh, it's just a big interest, rather than like a proper autistic special interest. I don't know if I've described that quite right.
Right. I don't know.
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah.
all right to me. I get it. Yeah, and what's that word you use?
Canalization.
Canonization, did you say? What's that?
It's
What does
like
that
the
mean?
conditioning where girls and boys at a young age are introduced to, I guess, stereotypical activities, and that can affect boys as well, like autistic boys as well. Like if they're introduced to things like, I don't know, climbing or rough things, and I don't know, like boyish games, and they're like really shy
Yeah,
naturally. People might assume that they're just like a really shy child, or they're whatever, and they won't assume autism. Well, they'll assume something's wrong, but they won't assume autism. But it's actually, I think I'm sorry. I
Right.
think I'm phrasing this quite off.
Okay, no worry, don't worry.
Right.
That's another question. What's your typical day like?
What would be better to go over, like a weekday or a weekend? Okay. So for
Whatever
me,
you want.
typically, I mean, it can really differ because I get up to a lot of different things in my own time, like drawing, and then some days I go out. So if we're going by like a weekend or something, I might just wake up early, have my wash, shower, whatever, do my breakfast. I tend to go by routine, quite a little bit of like a loose
Okay.
routine, but still a routine. So it seems like my day is going
Right.
like properly and nothing has gone wrong, basically, if I have proper. Sorry?
So, if your routine breaks for
Well,
interrupted, how do
I
you feel about
personally
that?
get a bit stressed about it because I like everything to be just, I know what's going to happen, basically, unless I don't know, put a day aside for something spontaneous. But if I know, like,
Right.
oh, I'm going to do this around this time and blah, 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 then I feel like I can just have a proper day without worrying or being, like, stressed about anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And how do you navigate like relationships and friendships and things like that? Do you have any? Is it difficult for you to make friends and have relationships, or do you find it
I do find it
easy?
quite difficult to make friends, but that just is because I'm quite a shy person. Like, I would call myself a shy extrovert. Like, I do like extroverted activities and outings and all that kind of stuff, but I'm just quite shy personally. So, yeah. So
Really?
I
Wow.
just I just find it
Okay.
quite difficult to go up to someone and, well, like, I guess this links into the unpredictability of people. I just find it quite difficult sometimes when, if it's someone who seems like I would assume is like a bit like me, like if we have something in common, like if they're wearing like a t-shirt with a band I like, it's like 10 times easier, 10 times more easier to go and talk to them. But if it's just like someone, like, I don't know, at college that I had to, like, I don't know, ask for some help or something, it would be very difficult because it's just hard. Or like on the street, if I
Right,
was
right.
at the train station and I was lost and I needed to ask someone directions or something, that would be very difficult as well. So socializing with people is quite
Yeah.
difficult, but it's something I'm willing to overcome.
Oh, right, right. That's good. And one scenario I'm thinking, if you could tell me the difference. Let's say you
Yeah,
had a friend that you get on with, and they were saying they're gonna go to the
yeah,
zoo, for example, and you're like, okay. And that versus a scenario where they're like, we're gonna go to the zoo with two other friends who, yeah, you don't know them, but you'll get on with them great, but you don't know them. How would you take
yeah,
that? Would there be a
definitely.
difference in
If it
feeling?
was like just the zoo with a friend, there'd be a lot less pressure and a lot less stress because I know this friend very well and everything. But if it's a friend and they're bringing two other people, um, initially I would be quite shy, quite nervous about the whole thing. A lot of worries, a lot more
Yeah.
stress, a lot of things I have to take.
Like, let me ask you, like, say, let's say you found out on Monday, and you happening on Friday that Tom and Eric,
Yeah.
or Tom and Jane were gonna come, and you found out on Monday, and it's happening Friday. What would that week be like? Because I get this sort of thing where I'm like, I'll
Mm.
do it, but I do get like sort of
Yeah,
anxious leading
definitely.
up to it. Do you
I
get
would
things like
have
that?
like I literally
Yeah.
set aside time to look at myself in the mirror and carry out a conversation to just, yeah, to just kind of,
Wow.
I guess, prepare myself for what I'll have to say to them, or how I would come across and how I would look. And it would just be
Yeah.
like a lot
Wow.
of the week would be just thinking and planning how to come across more, I guess, I regulated, if that's the right word. Just come across more socially acceptable. Because when I'm with a friend or whatever,
Wow.
I've
That
known this
is
person for a
fascinating.
long time, I get used to them. But other people, you just have to kind of, I guess with autism, and when you're like close with someone, you feel like you can be yourself and you don't have to mask. But with other people, there's a lot of things you have to take into consideration, and you have to mask, and you have to try and just, it's it's hard to explain to someone who wouldn't have autism, but it's like you really have to
Yeah.
be aware of everything that you do, that you say, your hand movements, everything.
Yeah. I wonder if it would be different as well when you're with them, if they're sort of
Yeah.
stereotypically, like as we say, normal. Um, would it be different than if you meet them and they may have
Oh, yeah.
autism as well, and you pick that out? Would you be more
Yeah.
comfortable that
If
oh
they
they're
had
like me sort of
autism,
thing?
um, I would be a lot less stressed, but there would still be things I'd have to think about because autism is a spectrum. But I would feel a lot more relieved and like I can kind of mask less.
Yeah, yeah. No, I understand that. This is I'm asking you some of the
Yeah,
things
yeah.
because that's some of the things that I feel. So it's interesting. Yeah, but that's another topic for another time. Okay, okay, that's good. Uh, let's see. Has social media helped you connect
Oh, yeah,
with any autistic
definitely.
people? Any other autistic
Um,
people?
when I was in a
Okay.
magazine for the way I dressed, like the whole Halloween kind of thing, some people from the magazine, well, one person actually, who ended up being featured in like an earlier version of the magazine, reached out to me, and she started talking to me, and we just talked about neurodivergency and ADHD and stuff. And I was talking to her about uni and whether uni might be the best thing for me, because she's in a similar situation with the whole neurodivergent and finding it hard to cope during with education and stuff. So I talk to her sometimes about what it might be like for me and the best things to look out for in a uni or whatever, for help with autism and ADHD and stuff. So social media has definitely helped me find and interact with people that I didn't even realize existed and were like me, because sometimes it feels like you're going through it on your own, especially growing up. But as I got older and I started using social media, there's you realize you're not on your own, and there's a lot of people your age that have gone through or are going through very similar things. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's cool. Just a couple more questions and we sort of round up. So what support has been most helpful to you since your diagnosis? Has it been friend support, family support, organisation? What do you think's really sort of helped you get through this? Or have you had no support?
I'm trying to think. I mean, it's quite difficult to say, actually. I would say when I got diagnosed, CAMS actually were quite helpful. After the diagnosis, they still I was still able to come to them because I still had appointments with my psychiatrist up until I turned 18, and she was really nice, and she gave me a lot of resources, and I was able to just talk to her about autism and things like that, and she would talk to my college and things like that as well to try and get me support and other things. So I think the majority of the support I got was from CAMS, really, and then there were friends who were supportive as well, but they all have autism, so it just felt like I didn't really have to do anything else, really, change or anything. They were just oh yeah, we knew, so it just didn't really feel like any change there. But yeah.
Right. Okay. And what do you feel now you've been diagnosed and you're living your life, when you say you're autistic to people, how do you feel embarrassed to say that? Do you feel confident to say that? Do you feel anything when you say that to someone?
I feel quite confident, and I don't feel embarrassed. I think a few years ago I might have felt embarrassed, when I was first looking into autism and stuff. That was one thing I was a little bit worried about, saying to people, I have autism. If I did end up having it, I would. I always thought what if they, think I'm lesser than them or whatever. But I just don't bother or care about that kind of thing anymore. If people have their own things that they want to believe, they're wrong, and it's their problem, it's not my problem. So if they want to believe stuff, then whatever, that's fine, but you can't really change someone's opinion if they're really, really deep into it. So I just stopped really caring about what other people would think about the whole autism diagnosis or label, and I just thought, well, I know what it means to me, so yeah. Thank you.
That's an awesome answer. I love that. Very, very, very at peace. And I think that's something that a lot of people would like to feel. Because I know, speaking to people, I know there was some sort of, I don't know if it's now, but before there was a sort of
Yeah.
reluctancy to tell someone they're autistic because, yeah, like for the things you mentioned, they
Yeah.
see them as a lesser human being or something, you know. But I feel that the
Yeah.
conversations open up more so now, and it's understandable. And I feel there's a lot of people. I feel as well there's another aspect of it in the,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially in the black community. I feel that there's a thing where there's this, like the autism,
Yeah.
the awareness isn't as great from what I've sort of witnessed. Where some people have just been labelled, just you know, oh, he's just slow, or he's just
Yeah.
this, or he's just different, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, there's something there, man. You know, you know what I mean? I've definitely seen that. So yeah, it's good to have that. Just in general, I think anyone just to have that thing where this is what I
Yeah.
believe. You can believe what you want to believe. I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'll
Yeah.
live my life and make my own decisions. I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Like, I
think
just
that's a
think there's
powerful way
no
of
point
living.
in arguing with people who, you know, haven't lived a day of autism or experienced it. Like, you know, they're going to come with their own beliefs, but you just have to, you know, accept that's just what they believe and just be like, well, you know, I know very well what it's like, so, and if you don't want to believe that, fine. That's just how I am, and that's how it is for certain people.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Very, you got your head screwed on very much. You must have some good family members or brothers or something. I don't know. Helped you out. I don't know. But yeah. But no. Look, but thank you so much. That's it, man. That's all I want to ask you. I could ask you. I've got about 7 more questions, but I think we'll leave it there, man. Because I don't want
I
to
don't
like
mind
bombard
another
you with
question.
questions. And I
I don't
think
mind,
what you've
or a few more. I
yeah.
don't mind. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you sure?
Okay.
Okay, all right, then I'll ask you a couple more because I've had them all listed here. Okay, so we've got that. Okay, so yes, actually, I'm glad you said that because this is a big question. Do you have any? Because I don't know this. Do you have any
Oh yeah, I
sensory
definitely
issues or
do.
anything like this?
I have an
Okay.
issue with certain types of papers. I just can't touch them, like at all. Certain textures, like I don't know how to like the papers you kind of get, like for leaflets or whatever. I can't. Oh God, I can't touch them.
Yeah.
With like, I just can't touch
Wow.
them, or it just makes me feel sick. I can't touch eggshells, or
Wow.
it makes me like gag. It makes me want to throw up, and I just feel
Wow.
really sick. And also the feeling of my hands being dry as well. I know dry hands, you know, is irritating to a lot of people, but for me it's like times 100. Like I can't. It like if I don't sort it out when they are really dry, I will throw up. I will actually vomit. I know that's a bit graphic, but I just
Wow.
can't deal with it, and I've had that for years as well, and I just thought it was normal. So I just carry like hand cream with me all the time, and also certain
Wow.
sounds, like really really high pitched sounds, like I said, you know, that stuff kind of like irritates everyone, but for me it's like amplified by 100, where I will start feeling really ill and sick and lightheaded. Like it's just like an overwhelming, like it doesn't just overwhelm your like ears, it overwhelms every part of you, and I just can't deal with it.
Wow, that's really interesting. I never knew that. And regards to the paper, I thought that was just our sister Sherelle. I thought that
With
was
the
I know
fish,
she had the
all
issue
the
with
same
this
thing.
little
Yeah.
yeah the fish thing. I thought yeah, so I didn't know you had that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. And okay, so also lastly about the education side of things. So do you think it's impacted your
Okay.
education? This is a two-part question. So, firstly, do you think it's impacted your education with your diagnosis? And if so, do you think there are ways that maybe the education board or things like this can do to help people that have autism that can help,
Do you mind
help them a bit more?
rephrasing? What do you mean at the beginning?
All right. So, did your the diagnosis of autism affect your Or actually, no, not even your diagnosis. Just having autism affect how you learn, how you process information. That's like the first part.
Uh, I'm not really sure because this kind of crosses in between ADHD and autism. Because I feel like, regards to education, ADHD has been like the number one thing that's completely ruined like everything regarding how I learn and how I process things and pick up things. I'm not really sure if it's too much to do with autism.
Right.
Yeah. But
Right. So it's the
ADHD is
ADHD.
the
That's
biggest
okay.
like
Gotcha.
problem.
Gotcha.
Like, yeah,
Yeah, I heard
yeah,
that 2 days ago. Someone said the
yeah.
same
Like
thing.
I'll
ADHD stopped them
always
from
say,
learning.
like this is not just related to education, but like everything in my life. If someone asked me if I had to get rid of autism or ADHD, I would always pick ADHD 100 times out of 10. Like with the autism, like yes, it has its inconveniences and its problems, but it does also, I guess, add to my character and make me who I am. With ADHD, I just see it as a massive inconvenience. Yeah.
Right, right, right. Interesting. Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, I think we leave it there.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that was brilliant. Thank you so much for answering those questions. Yeah, I think we learned a bit more, just well, not just your experiences, but this experience of someone with
Yeah.
autism and ADHD. And I never really thought about the differences in regards to what you could sort of live with and live without. How both of them would sort of impact your life. So, and which one would be a lesser of the two to impact it.
Mm.
So yeah, that's quite interesting. But yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Well, thank you so much for doing this. It's been brilliant. That's the first of many, and
Thank you
you've
for
started.
having
So
me.
thank you so much for helping me do my. Yeah, no, yeah. That's anytime, anytime, man, anytime. Don't be silly.